Hey, good morning, everybody. Hope you can hear me. New channel, same content. Just going through some business changes, but nevertheless, same content. Content stemming from the Empowering Minds podcast. So it depends. Sometimes I'll do things directly from the podcast. Sometimes I'll do a video. But for the most part, the videos and clips or whatever, they pretty much sync over to the different platforms for the podcast as well. And those platforms are Spotify, Amazon, Apple, iHeartMusic, Radio Public. All right, so, well, in transparency, I'm kind of going through a couple of situations myself. And I was thinking about just kind of sitting down and working through my situations. I mean, not that they're just absolutely terrible, but you know. But it seems like when I try to sit down, God always brings it back to me that this is the time for me to speak. And I think that he tells me to speak on certain things so that it helps me as well on my journey to healing. So in a way, it's like I'm actually encouraging myself too. Sorry, just realized the camera was down. So anyway, the Empowering Minds podcast, for those of you who don't know, I talk about a variety of things. I may talk about, of course, mental health. I may talk about it from a biblical perspective. I may talk about it from a holistic perspective. I may give some encouraging scripture or some type of encouraging word. Just a lot of different things that I'll talk about related to mental health and well-being. So please make sure that you subscribe to the channel, share with your friends and your family, encourage them to subscribe to the channel as well. Sorry, y'all, I'm a little winded. I'm still on my journey to physical wellness. So I walk every morning or I do some form of exercise for 30 minutes. And so sometimes you may see shorts or little video clips about that too, because your physical health will also impact your mental health. It can give you a mental boost that you need. So in life, I've dealt with some child and adulthood traumas, right? And of course, none of the childhood trauma was even touched upon until 4 years ago, maybe. I'm 47, so you do the math. And I think, I know I've made some progress, but I still think I'm scratching the surface in certain areas. Does it impact my mental health and my mood? Yeah, it sure does. So that's why I want to talk around stigmas around mental health, because my generation and my community, we were taught basically to cast our cares to the Lord, which is true. We were taught to keep it within the family, you know, or maybe if your family was really close with your pastor, maybe you could share it with your pastor so that your pastor could keep you in prayer. But we were not taught to seek resources, even though the resources was there. It was frowned upon if you reached out for resources such as individual counseling, group counseling, family counseling, or whatever the case may be. It was frowned upon. It was looked at in a negative light. Like if you went to receive help. This is the community word, it's not mine because I don't like the word. But people would say, oh, such and such is crazy because they're going to see a therapist. Meanwhile, my sisters and brothers who don't look like me, they were reaching out to those resources to learn some coping skills so that they could manage. I think sometimes people associate mental health with some type of demonic attack. And that's just not true. I mean, you think about someone who possibly served in the military and they were actively deployed to a war. I mean, I know plenty of people that were deployed to Iraq and Iran. When they left, they were one person. But when they returned back stateside, you could clearly see a big change in their mental health. So, many are diagnosed with PTSD. Some people with PTSD, they have very horrible, vivid nightmares, night sweats. Some even develop sleep apnea. Some people, it makes them very anxious to be around crowds. I mean, I've seen it. I have seen people at sporting events shaking like a leaf, or concerts shaking like a leaf, that are diagnosed with PTSD. Nothing about that screams a demonic attack. What happened? They were exposed to something during active duty, during a wartime, that they were not used to, and it caused a trauma. So now they will have to go through a healing process, and it depends on the person. Some people are believers, some are not. So their healing journey may look different. Some of their healing process may come through resources, counseling, life coaching, psychiatrists, therapists, peer support specialists, and their pastor or church leadership. Now, for some, their healing journey may look like getting resources that they need through a therapist, or, whatever choice they decide to make. Journaling, lots of self-care. So it depends on the person. Everybody is unique and different. You can have 10 people diagnosed with PTSD, but all of their symptoms will be different. What they need for support will look different. Even though they've all been diagnosed with PTSD, depression, bipolar, or whatever the diagnosis is. Something else I want to stress is that if you've been diagnosed, or you know someone who's been diagnosed, I used to be ashamed about it, but yeah, because of child and adult trauma, I was diagnosed with anxiety, depression, imposter syndrome, and generalized panic attacks. Now, these are all things that the doctor have said. I don't take any medication. I used to, but that wasn't my long-term goal. But at the time, that was a resource that I needed to help me manage my depression. Why? Because things were not addressed when I was a child. Because I felt like, even when I was old enough, working, had my own job in insurance, and in fact, let me back up. So I signed up for counseling. Oh my gosh, in my 20s. I can't remember how old I was, but I'll say somewhere between 23 and 28, somewhere between. And I thought, you know what, I need some help. I really need a counselor, because I'm trying to fight these issues and I can't. And I was fighting my issues because I was smoking some weed as a way to cope, and I was drinking, mainly wine more so than liquor, but that was my coping mechanism. But I knew that I couldn't continue to do that because I knew I would damage my body, and it definitely wasn't good for me mentally either. So I signed up, and when I got to the office, the therapist was someone that I know very well. Not only that, his wife worked there. And I'm talking about people I have built a solid relationship with, but I hadn't seen them in a while. So I went to maybe 2 sessions. I said, you know what? I can't go back there. Not that they did anything wrong, but there were so many stigmas around mental health. I was embarrassed that they knew I was coming there for help. Even though they were encouraging me, I'm so glad you came. I was embarrassed. I didn't want anybody to know that I was going to talk to a therapist to help me navigate through some horrible, horrible childhood and adult traumas. So from the time I was somewhere around that age, between 25, 28, I did no type of counseling up until 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, I think. Has counseling been beneficial for me? Absolutely. I've learned a lot of coping skills. I've learned a lot because some things have transpired in my life And I know that if it weren't for God and learning those coping skills in therapy, yeah, I believe I would have been on a little extended visit to behavioral health at Duke or UNC, one or two. And I'm just being serious. So I encourage you all that if you know that you need support through a therapist or a peer support specialist, life coach, licensed clinical social worker, psychiatrist, whatever. There are too many resources out here to suffer in silence. And for those of you who, I don't know, I do know some people that are kind of against counseling to a certain degree. But y'all, there's no need to suffer in silence because of someone else's opinion. They think that you don't need therapy. And you know full well that you do. I mean, I know every insurance is different. I know people that have therapy, their job covers it. They don't even have a copay. So now you tell me, what sense would that make? You know you need therapy of some sort. And your job, your insurance covers it. And you just say, I'm not going to do that. I don't have a copay. I'm going to just suffer. I mean, that's just like you just laying out in the middle of the road. Or laying out on Interstate 40. You know somebody going to come and run you over. So you have to do what is best for you. Now, for me, I haven't arrived at all. And I'll never just arrive. Because my healing process is really like a daily thing. So I have put some things, I'm not going to say I put them off, but even in my relationship, it's not put off. We get along great. But I was glad for a conversation that opened up the door of, you know what, I'm growing in this area too. So let's slow down a little bit. Get ourselves healed. And then I feel like more progress is going to happen. And that's what's been happening the last year, over a year now. So in order for me to move forward, and that's in any kind of relationship, friendship, whatever, I need to be completely healed. So I'm taking that time to develop. Not only am I focusing on my mental health, but there's some financial goals. So, if you're overwhelmed with your finances or your debt, that can cause mental health stresses too. So Lord willing, in June, I'll be debt free. So I can scratch that off. And then I have to look into a CPA of some sort on how to now invest this quote unquote free money. I know I need to save, but what else can I do? I need something that's going to generate me some income while I'm asleep. I don't know about y'all, but I don't want to work until I'm, whatever retirement age is, 65 or whatever it is. I don't want to do that. I'm 47. By the time I am 55, Lord willing, I'm serious. I want to hang it up, and I still want to continue to work, but I want to work my own businesses. That's my plan. So, with freeing up in a financial plan that will also help me mentally, because I won't have to worry about this being paid or that being paid. I will be able to sow more into the kingdom and sow, more into church. So I think that's it for this segment. My walk is almost over, but most likely I'll be back, Lord willing, tomorrow to add a little bit of more context. And y'all hold on with me. We're going to go through this journey together. I hope that what I'm saying is something that will be beneficial and helpful to you as well. A lot of times when we share our experiences, it actually helps to free someone else, because they may not be at the point of wanting to talk about things that they are going through. So in my own journey, I realize now that I have to be more careful than ever, because I don't know who's listening, who's watching. So I want to make an impact, and in order to do so, I need to be doing things in my life that are positive, effective. If I'm doing something and it's not right, well, I need to take accountability for it and change the behavior. So that's kind of what the podcast will also reflect as well. All right. Peace and blessings, y'all. Take care.